Hello everyone, this is God and Center with Matthew. Missed last week, man. I was deathly sick. The devil really attacked me last week because I should have did a lesson and I didn't. I was just really been going through it with the flu. And so I apologize everybody I missed last week. I'm back at it. You know, the devil's just been attacking me physically and just all kind of different ways. So we was in the book of 2 Samuel. I'm going to skip chapter 4 and I'm going to go into 5. David becomes king of Israel. I'm going to start at verse 1. Then all the tribes of Israel went to David in Hebron and told him, "We are of your own flesh and blood. In the past, when Saul was our king, you were the one who really led the forces of the Israel. And the Lord told you, you will be the shepherd of my people Israel. You will be Israel's leader." So David, that's why Saul was trying to kill David this whole time, because David was the next leader. It wasn't going to be anybody from Saul's genealogy. It was David. So there at Hebron, King David made a covenant before the Lord with all the elders of Israel, and they anointed him king of Israel. David was 30 years old when he began to reign, and he reigned 40 years in all. He had reigned over Judea from Hebron for 7 years and 6 months, and from Jerusalem he reigned over all Israel and Judah for 33 years. David then led his men to Jerusalem to fight against the Jebusites, the original inhabitants of the land who were living there. The Jebusites taunted David, saying, "You'll never get in here. Even the blind and the lame could keep you out." For the Jebusites thought they were safe. But David captured the fortress of Zion, which is now called the City of David. On the day of the attack, David said to his troops, "I hate those lame and blind Jebusites. Whoever attacks them should strike by going into the city through the water tunnel." That is the origin of saying, "The blind and the lame may not enter the house." So David made the fortress his home, and he called the city of David. He called it the City of David. He extended the city, starting at the supporting terraces and working inward, and David became more and more powerful because the Lord God of heaven's armies was with him. So you see, it's saying that the God was with him. God's with us anytime we're fighting a battle. David's fighting a battle. We fight battles daily. David's actually in a war, but we have war with our members. We have war with ourselves. We have war with other people. Not actual wars, but we fighting over whether we're supposed to be doing right or wrong. And everybody faces something on a daily basis. You can lie to yourself and say that you don't, because I know that myself, I struggle on a daily basis with different things. Maybe it may be cursing, it may be lusting, it may just be maybe looking at the wrong things on the internet. It could be mismanaging money, whatever it may be. There's so many different things that this world rules us, and we have to struggle with doing what God wants us to do. But God's with us. We have to pray to Him. And I was just talking to Him before I read this, that this whole week I've been sick, and I've been struggling, and you know, this snowstorm came, and the devil attacked me with the air. One day the heater just went out. The next day the water wasn't working. You know, on top of me being sick, and then you know, then the snowstorm came. The very next day, I just chilled out in the house, and I should have did some studying. Should have been praying to God, because I was able to just be at peace for the day, and it just I had a major struggle last week, you know, and all I had to do was talk to my Father, which is God in heaven, and stay in contact with Him. And for some reason I just didn't. I didn't stay in contact with Him as much as I should have, and I apologized to Him when I was reading. Earlier I was reading the King James, and I got this other version that I'm reading out of. I just wasn't feeling that King James. It was just, I don't know, I'm still sort of getting over this cold. So, you know, I was able to understand a little better. This will be the third time I read this now. Usually I just read it and get up, but anyways, we're going to go to verse 15. The king of Hermon and Tyre sent messengers to David, along with cedar, timber, and carpenters and stonemasons. They built David a palace, and David realized that the Lord had confirmed him as king over Israel and had blessed his kingdom for the sake of his people Israel. David got help. That's what happened with me. I mean, you know, I got this little furniture. I got this furniture, so the day I was getting this furniture, I had had to get my mom to come. She came and signed the papers and waited, and then she ended up having to stay and help, you know, with the heat and air man. And the very next day, the water messed up, and I was able to call my cousin. He gave me some pointers, and then Dad came over and finished up whatever else needed to be done. So in life, we need help sometimes. You know, God sometimes sends us help, and I'm just very thankful that I still have my mom and dad, and they was able to be very much of help to me both them days that I was having the troubles. You know, I'm very thankful that God's allowed me to have this nice house, and I was able to get this nice piece of furniture. You know, I'm starting to try to get the house looking like an actual house. Still working on it, and I'm just thankful for everything. Anytime somebody helps me, I really do appreciate it, and I know that God has sent them. God has sent help to me whenever I get it, because sometimes we can't do everything on our own. And that's what God sent David this help. And we're going to verse 13. After moving from Hebron to Jerusalem, David married more concubines and wives, and they had more sons and daughters. These are the names of David's sons who were born in Jerusalem: Shemulah, Shobab, Nathan, Solomon, Abadar, Ishula, Nepag, Joppa, Ishmael, Elada, and Elephant. So he's done married a bunch more women and got a bunch more concubines. He's just being a male whore again. This is what David likes to sleep with a bunch of women. This isn't the main thing. God, like he's a good guy, man. He just can't keep his hands off women. That's one of his downfalls. Always has some kind of downfall. That was David's downfall, was women. So now, going to verse 17. Then the Philistines heard that David had been anointed king of Israel. They mobilized all their forces to capture him, but David was told they were coming, so he went into the stronghold. the Philistines arrived and spread out across the valley of Rephaim. So David asked the Lord, "Should I go out to fight the Philistines? Will you hand them over to me?" The Lord replied to David, "Yes, go ahead. I will certainly hand them over to you." So David went to Baal-perazim and defeated the Philistines there. The Lord did it, David exclaimed. "He burst through my enemies like a raging flood." So he named that place Baal-perazim, which means the Lord who burst through. So David stayed in communication with God. That's the thing we got to do. We got to stay in communication. I didn't stay in communication with God last week, and it was rougher than it should have been. But God did send me some help. You know, sometimes just God looks out for us idiots. You know, sometimes we can just be idiots, and God still looks out for us. That's the way I feel sometimes. I feel like sometimes I'm just out here. Not exactly doing 100% what I need to be doing. Like David's out here just screwing all these women and stuff, and God's still looking out for him. I mean, God does have His hands on some people, and He does love us. It doesn't mean that we're supposed to just be out gallivanting doing what we want to do, but David does stay in communication. The one thing we do need to do is stay in communication with God through all the stuff we're doing. You know, that's one thing that's hard to do. You know, it sounds easy, but it's not easy, man. It's to even get up and just pray every morning. To get up and pray and thank God, like, you know, thank God for this stupid little thing like water, man. You know how, like, that's one thing I'm thankful for now. Thankful for the heat and the water. I mean, some of us don't even think about that. I thank God for the stuff before, but this is the first time I was without water. It was really scary. You know, I knew I'd paid my water bill, so I didn't know what actually had happened. But it froze up what had happened, and I don't know. It's just we got to stay in contact with God. We got to stay in prayer with God. We got to stay in communication with God, and God will look out for us if you've been born again. 22. But after a while, the Philistines returned and again spread across the valley of Rephaim. And again David asked the Lord what to do. He's asking God. He's staying in communication with God. Do not attack them straight on, the Lord replied. Instead, circle around behind and attack them near the poplar trees. When you hear a sound like a marching feet in the tops of the poplar trees, be on alert. That will be the signal that the Lord is moving ahead of you to strike down the Philistine army. So David did what the Lord commanded, and he struck down the Philistines all the way from Gebon to Gezer. So, if you'll see, David stayed in communication with God the whole time, and God's took care of him. So, the whole lesson today is stay in communication with God. God will take care of you. But He wants to hear from us, and He wants us to. He wants to hear us ask Him what we need to do. See, David's asked Him. David knows he's anointed by God. David now knows he's been anointed king over Israel. He knows God has put him in charge. So now he knows that he's got to ask God every little move to make. And that's what we should be doing as Christians. We should be asking God every little move we need to make. So it's just hard sometimes to do. I mean, like I said, this week just the communication wasn't good, and stuff happened, and I don't know. It's just been a rough week for me. Hopefully next week will be a better week. I need to stay in more prayer to God, and anybody watching that's had a rough week or had some rough months, ask yourself, if I've been discussing these details with God, I've been asking God what He wants me to do. Because a lot of times we don't. I find myself guilty of it. I'm glad that I read that because I'm seeing that the communication with God is like, is where I need to be at. I need to be more about asking God and talking to God about what I'm doing and what direction I need to be moving in. Now I feel like I'm in a standstill in some part of my life. Like quite a bit of my life, I'm in a standstill and I'm not really moving forward. I'm just I'm not really falling backwards, but I'm not really moving forward. And sometimes I am falling backwards. So I just really, I need to discuss with God the whole trajectory of where my life's going. And I'm asking everybody that's watching to do the same, to just stay in communication with God, because God does love you and God does want to take care of you, but He does want to hear from you. He wants to hear your voice. He wants to hear you ask Him questions. He wants to hear you. He wants for you to be His best friend. And that's what God was to David. God and them two was like this. He stayed in communication with God, and God took care of David. God took care of me, even though I don't stay in communication with Him like David did. I do sometimes. Sometimes we try to forget. We'll just forget everything seems like it's going okay, and we've got it. I haven't got nothing. I can tell you one thing: whenever I take control, I take the reins, I mess everything up. So God, take the wheel, and I want to tell everybody that's watching, I love each and every one of y'all, and if y'all haven't been baptized, get a hold of me and we'll make it happen. Or go to your local church and ask the preacher. But some of these churches ain't really teaching that baptism, and that's what Jesus taught. Anyways, it's getting late, and I just try to get this in, and I need to get a few of these up ahead because I had my cooking videos up ahead, so I wasn't able. I was able to upload them, but I need to get at least 1 or 2 lessons up ahead just in case I do get sick. I can put one out. Anyways, y'all have a blessed night. Thank you for watching, and if you like what you've seen, like, share, and subscribe.